Okay, Ms. Crockett.
So many of you know that I practice law, but some of you don't realize that I actually was a business major out of Rhodes College in Memphis, Tennessee. And the emphasis that I got in my business degree was on finance. And as I traveled the country campaigning this election cycle, one of the things that I talked about was this idea that in finance, we always promote this idea of diversity. If you know anything about a portfolio, the one thing that you want to do is make sure that it's as diverse as possible, because at times certain stocks will perform better than others, and they will exemplify various strengths and weaknesses. And together, a diverse portfolio is usually what any good finance person would promote. They wouldn't promote that you solely invest in vanilla wafers, believing that that is going to be the strongest portfolio, but instead they may want to add some chocolate cake and some Twinkies into the mix to make sure that we have the best portfolio, because there will be different preferences by different people. And again,
and this is wrong. This is 100% wrong. Listen, you can go to school all you want, and most people that are in the finance majors don't know anything because they haven't necessarily started a business. But I can tell you, I come from the school of hard knocks, and I've actually started businesses and run them myself, and I still run businesses with multiple different employees. And I come from the school of Warren Buffett, Buffettology, a random walk down Wall Street, so on and so forth. The thing that Warren Buffett emphasizes is you don't have to diversify your portfolio, but more importantly, you need to make sure that the thing that you're studying, that you're a master of it. If you can pick 2 or 3 stocks, that's incredible. You don't have to have 10 or 15. You just go with those 2 or 3 stocks, and it doesn't have to be diverse across multiple different industries. We talk about this in Stock Club, so make sure that you guys tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. You don't have to make sure that you're diverse across multiple different industries. You look for the thing that is best for your portfolio based off of the 8 things that we study that we look for inside of a stock or when we're looking to invest in a company. So for example, we pay attention to management, margin, right? And then we also look at debt to equity ratio. And so what that means is if you have a low debt, because most companies, almost all companies have debt, but different companies have debt for different reasons. Some of them may have debt because they don't want to bring foreign investments or profits over to the United States and to be taxed at a higher tax rate. So instead, they then take out loans against those at a lower margin than what it would cost them to then have to bring it back to the United States of America and pay higher taxes on it. So you can have an incredibly profitable company, but then they have debt. But the debt is good debt because it allows for them to have more profits versus a company that needs debt in order to survive. Your management, the people that runs the company, and how close are you tied to that in order to be successful, right? And then you look at your margins. NVIDIA is at this point close to a 50 to 60% margin on a profit. So for every dollar that they take in, they keep 50% versus you going into the grocery business where they have a very, very sometimes 1 or 2% margin that can make or break a company, but then they're carrying higher debt. My point is that why would you diversify across multiple different industries? Why would you go into the grocery business and go into technology or the chip semiconductor manufacturing versus staying steadfast in one industry, which ultimately at times, that's the majority of the time where you see people get really rich. People get rich off of one thing most of the time, and then they protect themselves by going into other industries, right? I can make a whole lot of money in content creation, but then I put all of my eggs or I put all of my investments that I make my money from in the real estate so that that's something that could protect me against it. So it's not about diversity, equity, and inclusion like she's about to make it out to be. Because I haven't seen this, but honestly, I know where she's going with it, obviously. And so she's trying to substantiate her argument by trying to say that most people and most finance managers will tell you to diversify. Well, most people that get really, really rich will tell you not to. And it's a difference between diversifying across multiple different stocks versus diversifying and protecting yourself from a tax perspective and a tax burden. So for example, if I go into the real estate industry, I have tax incentives that will allow for me to keep more of my money legally versus just keeping it and then allowing for you guys like liberals to get into office, and in Kamala Harris, tax unrealized gains. But we don't want to get into the finance aspect of it because that's what we do on the Millionaire Morning Show right here is the Anton Daniels channel. And we want to see how she's running in the Victim Olympics. Let's continue to go on with this.
And there will be different strengths. But as I sit here and I think about what we say and what I'm hearing as it relates to diversity when it comes to anything outside of making money. And to be clear, we are losing GDP every time we try to push back on this idea of diversity because all of us bring something different to the table. But you consistently said over and over the word oppression, and every time that you said it, it was almost as if I was hearing nails on a chalkboard because it seems like you don't understand the definition of oppression, and I'd ask you to just refer to Google to help you out. Oppression is the prolonged, cruel, or unjust treatment or control. That is the definition of oppression. And so as I sit here as a Black woman who practiced civil rights, let me tell you the reason that my colleagues wanted to make sure you understood the same Black history that your side of the aisle wants to delete out of classrooms is because you can then misuse words like oppression. There has been no oppression for the white man in this country.
So she went on that whole rant just to show that she's racist. She went on a whole rant just to show and justify that she's racist. Now, let me ask you guys a question before we continue on with this. What if a white woman said the exact same thing against Black people, but in a reverse? So let's say, for example, a white woman came in and she says, you know what? I can't get away with some of the same things that you guys get away with because you can say the N-word and you can say this and you can say that. But if I use it, then I'm going to be canceled as a result of it. How do you think that will fare? What do you think would happen? How fast do you think that they will be calling this woman a racist because she's using the exact same talking points in reverse and then justifying her argument like Jasmine Crockett? Listen, we live in a country where Black people can be as racist as they want to be. They could say some of the wildest things nowadays, and then they'll sit there and talk about privilege. Jasmine Crockett is sitting here as an elected legislator crafting policy in the United States of America according to who voted her in, and she's talking about being oppressed. Is that crazy? Is that not like an oxymoron? Now, consider this. I am a C student, so take what I say as a grain of salt. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not the sharpest knife in the tool shed. I can't necessarily speak to certain things, but I can identify a victim Olympian when I see one.
You tell me which white men were dragged out of their homes. You tell me which one of them got dragged all the way across an ocean and told that you are going to go and work. We are going to steal your wives. We are going to rape your wives.
How long will we run in the Victim Olympics? How long are we going to hold on to this?
We didn't ask to be here. We're not the same migrants that y'all constantly come up against. We didn't run away from home. We were stolen.
No, you were sold. You were sold. You weren't stolen. And see, maybe we need to give Jasmine Crockett and all of these people that's running in the Victim Olympics a history lesson. You were sold by people that looked like you. Go back over there. They just got the back end of the deal. They were capitalists just like you. And let me also say that a lot of these people that come over into this country that's not from America, but that exhibit the same or that show the same skin color, they don't really rock with you like that. They look at you as lazy, entitled, and a victim Olympian. Let me let her say the rest of her rant, then we're going to come back and have a conversation.
So yeah, we are going to sit here and be offended when you want to sit here and act like, and don't let it escape you that it is white men on this side of the aisle telling us, people of color on this side of the aisle, that y'all are the ones being oppressed. That y'all are the ones that are being harmed.
White men are public enemy number one.
That's not the definition of oppression. You tell me the prolonged, cruel, or unjust treatment that you've had, and we can have a conversation.
You could start with Exodus.
The final thing that I will say on this particular issue, Two things. There is an article from The Guardian, and it is a little old. It's from 2021, so I apologize. But it said that back then, just 3 years ago, white men represent 30% of the population, but 62% of office holders. These are the issues that we are constantly looking at and recognizing and trying to say, is this just? I can't even tell you how many white men have served in this chamber, but I can tell you that I am only the 55th black woman to be elected to Congress. And so when you want to talk about history and pretend as if it was so long ago, it wasn't. Because again, I am just number 55.
Hey, how many more do we have to elect, and how much longer does time have to pass before we eventually get over the Victim Olympics? I'm just asking.
Finally, when we start to talk about what do these numbers do as we're trying to say the diversity, equity, and inclusion is the problem, the reality is that when it comes to financial performance, companies with more diverse workforces are more likely to outperform their competitors. Companies in the top quartile for racial diversity are 35% more likely to outperform their peers on profitability. Companies with diverse executive teams are 25% more likely to generate greater profits. Diverse companies earn 2.5 times higher cash flow per employee. Diversity works. And until you can show me data that says otherwise, I think that we need to go back to being a country that listens to experts and gets out of our feelings and recognizes, again, that racism is real in this country. And until we stop pretending that it's not, we will not solve the problems that we are consistently facing. And that will bring real unity that we...
No, we don't want unity. We want to go back to the way that things were. We want to focus on masculinity and gender politics, getting up out of there. We want men with women, women with men. We want to be able to get back to the bag. We want to fix our schools. We want infrastructure. We want war to end. We want illegal migrants not to be over here. We want all of that stuff. The voters voted, all right? You don't have no more power. We're going to continue to run it up the way that we've been running it up. Let me know what y'all think inside of the comments. Make sure you tap to the Patreon link is in the description. Also, Teach Hanley, 40% off the first order plus 20% off of life. Get your tickets to come and see me December 14th. Let me know what y'all think inside of the comments.